We're going to have everyone, if you're not talking to get going, just mute yourself. I think we have everyone muted. Wonderful, but welcome today to the GED and Diploma webinar from Grad Blast to Grad Blaz. And hopefully maybe today we can try to figure out how to get it back to Blast again. So today we have Christine Kelly from Atlas and Robbinsdale Adult Academic Program with us, and I'm Brett Haskamp with the Minnesota Department of Education, and I'm really excited that we have about 9 presenters from around the state that will be able to share a little bit of what they are doing today as well. So a little bit about getting started. The purpose of today's webinar is to provide a virtual place and space for you to connect and share with one another. Also, we want to make sure that you'll get plenty of chances to hear from colleagues who can kind of help answer your questions, provide some support, answers, and share some of their experiences, and hopefully you can share yours. We also will give some updates on GED and testing, and we will inform you of the statewide COVID-19 Distance Learning Resource Hub and upcoming PD activities. If you're having any trouble with technology, please chat in with Patsy, and we can she can help you out. I really also want to thank Gail for taking notes on today's discussion. We'll have multiple opportunities for group discussions. During those times, please just share in the chat box for everyone to read, or you can raise your hand and we'll let you speak so everyone can hear your questions or ideas. And Christine and I will send you a post-webinar summary via email. And that will also be posted on the Schoology group. I feel like I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. If you are not muted, please just take a moment to mute yourself if you're not talking. But first off, and I'm going to let Christine add as well, we just want to thank you. We know we're navigating some difficult, challenging times, and it's just been amazing, all of the innovation that you've shown, all of the dedication you've shown to really reaching out to working with students and to helping students. So it's true that there's some amazing things happening right now. And I just hope that you can recognize all of the hard, amazing work that you're doing, all the innovating that you're doing quite quickly. And don't forget all of that progress right now. Christine, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just, we've been working hard, and I've been in touch with so many teachers around the state and attending the coffee breaks and things, and hearing the difference from the very beginning of this to now, just hearing teachers talk about technology and talking about how, one by one they're getting in touch with students, and it's just been crazy, but just moving forward. And I just want to say that every time that I've put out a request for something, whether it's to teachers about, questions to respond about what they're doing with GED diploma or how they're putting quality packets together, or any of these requests, in spite of all that's going on with ourselves, trying to keep our families and our loved ones safe, trying to reach our students, everyone has responded and has taken the time throughout this, which just to me is what Minnesota ABE is all about. And Patsy always says it takes a village. It's a village, and this village is just vibrant and active, and just really sharing and supporting, holding up everybody else. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And we'll get to see or hear about some of these amazing things that are happening. So thank you all. And thanks to my co-host, Christine. Today we do have 4 key messages that we would like to just reinforce or help share. First, that we know to continue reaching students to help them continue their learning. At the same time, though, we need to acknowledge that students are managing their own life issues right now and really can't handle necessarily too much more, or maybe anything more in some cases, or in many cases. We also need to be thinking now, how do we need to adapt students' diploma options or pathways right now? And we want to always keep in mind, well, it might not be as essential as the other three or as heartwarming as the other three. We also want to make sure we're understanding state policy and logistics issues. And so let's dive into some of our key messages. So our key message one about reaching out to students and to help them continue their learning. We have three wonderful AD colleagues to help share a little bit of what they're doing in this regard. So I'm going to first turn it over to Paula Fryermuth from ASIO to share what she is doing because she's done some great outreach. Paula.
I don't know that it's great outreach, but just things that we've done within our program and me specifically. But when this all started, we had an expectation. We were directed by our manager to contact every student up to 3 times. If we didn't get them on the first try, you had to keep going. And contact could mean email, or it could mean using the Remind texting system, and sometimes even phone calls. And the phone calls was the tricky part. But we've got some things through Google Voice, and some of our assistants are making the phone calls for us. And then what we keep doing is emailing and reminding a lot. So the first bits were just to say, hey, this is what's going on. And then what I'm doing every week, at least once a week, is I send out an email with a reminder of when their classes are with me, what work they have to do ahead of time. I've set up a Schoology page for each class so they have their assignments on there when they need them. I also email links to everything in case they can't remember how to look at their Schoology page. I over inundate them with information, and it seems like too much, but I don't think it is too much. Um, we're just, the whole idea is just contacting them any way that we can, um, and just making sure we know what's going on. We're doing only online work. We're not doing any packets right now, so we don't have anything going out to students physically. And it's just keep in touch. And we don't get everybody, and we get who we get, and that's pretty much how it works. Our online platform that a district has said we are using is Google Meet, so that's the only one we get to use. But students seem to be okay with that, and we're doing that. And I just keep emailing. I'm doing so many emails, and they email me back, and it's just, to me, that's the best way to keep them learning and give them where their stuff is and show them and talk to them.
That's excellent, Paula. So out of all of your students that you're currently working with, how many of them have you actually been interacting with on a regular basis?
About 50%. So I have roughly like 50 students a week in all my classes. So I'm seeing about 25. It depends on the class. My higher math class, I tend to see 100% of the students from that. I had 15 and I'm getting 13 every time we meet. And any of my diploma students are showing up every time they're supposed to, because they know we have 4 of them who could graduate, could be finished in June if they finish up these things in the next few months. So they're showing up every time just because they have that internal motivator. If they don't show up or don't do their work or don't ask me questions, they're not going to be done when they want to be done. So that's an intrinsic thing that I have no control over. I just give them the opportunities, and it's up to them to take them or not. So that's pretty much, with my diploma students, I'm getting pretty near 100% contact. Other students, again, about 50% of them, and the ones that are not able to meet, some of them have called in or emailed in and said it's because between their having to work and having to do their own child distance learning, they don't have time for their distance learning. They just don't have the technology aspect. They don't have the hardware. They don't have the Wi-Fi connection. And so those are the ones who have said, I can't do it. Even though I have my phone, I can't do it. So that's who we're not seeing. But otherwise, the other group we're not seeing is our very lowest learners who don't do well on technology, who don't understand how to learn that way. So.
That makes sense. Thank you, Paula. I'm gonna open it up to Sherry Bruins from Glacial Lakes over in Hutchinson. Sherry, do you want to share a little bit about how you're doing?
Sure. Hi, everybody. First of all, I just want to explain a little bit about where we are. I'm the Hutchinson site manager. We are a one-room schoolhouse setting. We typically would be open 4 days a week and 2 evenings for a total of about 26 hours that we're available to meet with students. We're a team of 5 teachers, and we serve just over 250 students annually, with many of them being GED students. We had 47 GED earners last year. That was a really good year. And this year we're at 27. And I'm thinking that's where we're going to end with the way things are going. Our strategy has been to assign each staff person a caseload, kind of like Paula mentioned, a caseload of students to contact each week. We're working with our active students, so the students who have been attending within the last 3 months or so, and that's about 60 to 75 students. So that means each staff person is in contact with a caseload of 12 to 15 students each week. Like Paula, most of the contact we're doing is through, we're doing phone calls, but we're using our personal phones, which isn't ideal, but it's what we're doing. We're also using Zoom to video chat. We're using Remind to text, and we're sending a lot of emails. Teachers have been checking in with students, assisting with academic materials, promoting the use of distance learning, and we've added goal setting as something we'd like to work with students who are ready for it. We're going to talk about some of the stress. Some students, that might just stress them out. But as a staff, we also talked about how that might be a good way for students to feel some sense of accomplishment. So goal setting is something new that we're trying. We are using a Google form for staff. So once they make contact with a person, they are using the form to record all of their notes, and that populates a Google Sheet, so we see all of the information in one place. That's been really helpful. An interesting benefit of this approach has been that it's helping our staff to learn some technology skills and get comfortable with Google Apps, where they're using the forms, they're using the sheets. With the goals, we're setting it up with Google Docs. So I hadn't really realized that it would be a great point, because most of my staff isn't super comfortable with technology. They're sure not ready to feel comfortable teaching online. Some teaching ideas. The GED webinar, the Tuesdays with Teachers, a couple weeks ago had some really good ideas that I felt like I could hit the ground running with. One of them was math antics. So we used those videos and their practice sheets to set up a Google Classroom, which is brand new to me. I have a geometry class set up, and we're running utilizing Zoom, meeting with students, Google Classroom, and the math antics materials. So it's been great and kind of a fun challenge. Another thing we did is I did use the bulk invite through North Star Digital Literacy. They have those modules now. And that was a fairly easy copy paste from student emails in SID. I did a SID report. And with a couple clicks, you can invite all of your students to North Star. So within the first day, I think we had 10 people up and running with, I'm seeing the chat, with the North Star Digital Literacy. So that's been great. My biggest challenge at home is internet and data. I'm burning through the data. I just got a notification that I have 10% left of my internet data for this month. And, you know, I'm trying to be so careful. I'm not streaming Netflix or anything because I'm trying to save my data for work. So the struggle is real, people. And really, internet in Greater Minnesota was down for all of Tuesday, so we couldn't do much of anything. But like Brad mentioned at the beginning, I'm excited about the challenge. Staff is excited to engage with students in new ways, and it's been fun to collaborate with everybody and have this spirit of sharing. So thank you to everybody.
Well, thank you, Sherry. You really did have a lot of great ideas that you have there, and a lot of things that you're tackling. And it's I do appreciate that perspective of what that means for you personally, for your other colleagues, and also for your students. And that varied approach is outstanding. It is also that there is a significant internet access issue as you go across the state of Minnesota. And so I'm glad you highlighted that as well. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, well, let's move to Tammy Twiggs in St. Paul. Tammy, can you share a little bit about what you've been doing?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, Brad?
Yes, I
Hello?
can.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I have so many people working. I have my son in the next room. He goes to the U and he's working. I can hear him doing his Spanish composition. So I'm just hoping that that doesn't cross over and that you guys can hear me okay. I'm really glad to be here because I think after lots of fumbling around the first couple of weeks and trying to figure out what was going to work, I feel like I have somewhat of a system in place. So I started out, hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound fine, Tammy. Keep going.
Great. Okay. So I started out because every student, I'm at the Hub Center, and every student has a Gmail. So that was the beginning piece because everybody was comfortable with Gmail. So I started emailing everybody, and I had read an article that said the key to this time is making sure everybody's okay. So instead of sort of dumping homework on everybody right away, I started just connecting with people, asking them if they had the resources that they needed, if they were scared. And every time I got information about COVID, I would send that out just to give people updated information. And they really seemed to appreciate that. So I was able to collect a good group of learners at that point who said they wanted to continue working with me. And so I was using, in the beginning, I have 2 custom courses in Edmentum, and I was putting people in reading and writing. And then the second thing I was doing is using Read Theory, which many of our students use independently. So it was more like me reminding people, in addition to working at Edmentum, please continue with Read Theory because it's good for reading comprehension. And then a couple weeks in, I started to create learning plans for students who stayed active with me. So right now, I would say I have approximately 40 people who are working with me. Most of that is asynchronous. It's either in Edmentum or, they text me or in Remind when they're done and say, please go in. What should I be working on? If they have trouble, I'll send them additional work. And then I'm also using something called ESL Library, which I did have to purchase for myself. It's not an approved platform, but students tend to like working in it because there is lots of all the way from beginner to advanced and intermediate, all the different levels of ESL. So the students that I have working with me, I tried to group them together according to levels. So this week I started with, most of my colleagues are using Zoom, and for some reason I cannot access it in my house or I fade in and out. So I'm using Google Meet, and I have met with 2 classes so far this week, and it's went really well. So what I did is I took Common Lit, which is an approved platform, and I spent some time doing a lesson in Common Lit about overcoming adversity. I had 6 people show up to the lesson, and we worked, I worked by sharing my screen just like I would do in class, starting with some vocabulary prompts and then moving on to reading out loud and practicing pronunciation, and then highlighting key terms and asking people questions related to that so we could have discussion. And then what I did when they were done is I emailed everybody the directions to get into Common Lit, and then they're able to go in there and they do the guided reading questions. And then once they do that assessment, that is countable. So that's a way I really wanted to use Common Lit because I think there's a lot of wonderful stuff that you can, if you're doing it in a Google Meet, you can go a few levels above to their instructional level, or if you assign it just for them to do independently, you can go to their independent reading level. So that's been really helpful for me, is to be able to add that. And then tomorrow I took a group of higher level learners and I'm going to do the same thing with a New York Times article. at the same time, I feel like I'm answering numerous emails and text reminds every single day. I feel like that's the bulk of my time. And I know we don't, get return on investment for that, but the students feel very supported. So I'm trying to tend to that affective piece, making people feel comfortable, and then gently giving them work to do. Some people are going gangbusters. I had one lady do 300 quizzes in read theory, so she doesn't really need me to motivate her. Other people are feeling less comfortable with the technology, so I try to troubleshoot with them. Sometimes I call them on the phone while they're sitting on their tablet or on their, other device. So it's a lot of troubleshooting that I haven't had to do before, which is kind of interesting because I wouldn't say I'm super techie, but I'm learning as I go, and I'm helping the students see that, the word that we teach them, persist. That's exactly what I'm having to do as a teacher now. I don't have time to share what all the other teachers at the Hub Center are doing, but they're doing some wonderful, wonderful things, down from the lowest ELO level all the way up through Pam, who's doing some GED work with her students. And then I'm also going to listen in today because I've had a little bit of a struggle figuring out how to capture my adult diploma learners and do things like speaking and listening and some other things. So I hope that will get addressed a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for allowing me to share what I'm doing remotely for the Hub Center.
Well, and thank you, Tammy. I always appreciate hearing all the varied ideas and the diverse array of resources that people are using, especially you, and your approach to kind of combine that personal and academic touch as we go forward. That is outstanding. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, let's open up at this point to a group discussion to see what resources are you finding that are working best. And you can chat in your ideas, or you can raise your hand and we can call on you and unmute you to share your idea over the phone with everybody. But please share some resources and ideas, strategies that are working great for you as you continue to reach out to students to help them continue their learning. I know that the chat has been extremely rich.
Brad.
Questions for time. Yeah.
I would like to just point out a couple things as people are thinking about things they'd like to add. Yeah, pay attention to the chat because some people are asking questions of the people who are talking. Chelsea Ritlin wanted to know if, Sherry, if your students have district accounts to connect with Google Classroom. Some data concerns, but many companies have lifted data limits. Thanks, Betsy. ESL library is coming up here. I guess there's a trial subscription. It is a subscription service, but as Tammy talked, very popular. I know John Tortola from Robbinsdale, one of my teammates, has that up on his Google site. So I think that's a nice option. Paula did talk about CK12 and Virtual Nerd in lieu of Khan sometimes. And yeah, please go into the box here. Amy Fish talked about using Google Slides and how she's doing that. She has some description of that, so make sure you check that out in the chat box. Okay.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate you summarizing some of the rich discussion there.
And we are taking very careful notes. Gail is, so we'll make sure they get to everyone.
Excellent. Anyone else want to share anything verbally over the phone? You can click on the hand icon and we can call on you, or you can continue to chat in ideas.
We have a hand up from Kai.
Excellent. That's so strange.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Yeah, something that I actually started doing, well, what was it, 2 weeks ago, that worked pretty well was for those students who are willing to try new things, I actually had put my lesson on Nearpod. I don't know if you've heard of that, where you give students a particular code. So they go onto nearpod.com and they put in a code, and then you can live do your slideshow lesson, and it'll actually show on their screen too. And so you control, like, of course, when the slides are progressing. And some of the students like that. So it was kind of a fun way to live stream the lesson.
Excellent. I had not heard of that resource before. What was it called again, Kai?
It's called nearpod.com.
And how do you spell that?
Yeah, I can put it in the little, yes, Astrid spelled it right. It's nearpod.com. So NEARPOD.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kai. Any other hands up? Normally I can see them, but today for some reason it's not coming up when I.
Yeah, I'm checking for you, Brad. I don't see any other hands up. We have a couple of chats, but I'll let Christine mention those.
Yeah, Tammy said that Susan Wettenkamp Brandt did a great session on Nearpod, and I'm wondering if anybody knows where people can find that. Ralu Rice, Marshall ABE for low intermediate ESL via Google Meet, setting office hours and set classroom times. Yeah, we're hearing a lot about this. The structure is really important. Trying to keep things similar times to when we had classes. Spellingcity.com, excellent. Thanks, everybody. John says ESL library is worth every penny. And don't forget Newsela. I've been using Newsela with my Google site. The science and social studies distance learning units that normally are pay for are all free now. Lori Leach says we're using Screencastify to give tutorial instruction. I'm doing this on my Google site as well. I'm doing lots of little videos to talk about this is the lesson, or to do a warm-up, or to tour them through the site. Can somebody respond to Kiana Erickson? What Edmentum courses are folks assigning to pre-GED learners? If you could say something about that or chat that. Plato, Read Theory, MobyMax. Yep, we're really starting to see which platforms are kind of rising. And NRP online learning. Lori, do you want to say a little bit more about that? Or did you mean NPR?
So
it's New Readers Press. They have that set up.
Oh, New Readers Press, yes.
Sorry about that.
Tammy, is Spelling City, is that a pay for or is that free? That platform. I'm hearing more and more people talk about Spelling City. It's free right now. Okay, Spelling City. All right. Do we want to move on, Brad? What resources are working best? I think things will keep coming up.
At the moment, someone raised their hand, but now, of course, I can't see it. Patsy, did you see it?
Ralu has her hand up.
Excellent, thank you. Ralu, do you want to share what you, your question or idea? Ralu? You're not muted, but I can't hear you. Ralu, let's try one more time. Can you try sharing your idea or question? Okay, I think we'll move on. I can't hear Ralu, but Ralu, if you want to, feel free to share your idea or question in the chat, and we can address that. At this point, I think we're going to move on to our key point 2. And it's so important right now to acknowledge that our students, as well as all of us, are managing a lot of life issues right now. And that might really impact how and if they can engage in learning. And so two of our AD colleagues I want to share about that were Amy and Scott. Amy Fish, would you from Detroit Lakes, would you like to share a little bit about how you have been handling this?
I would love to. The first piece is very much like what everyone else has talked to in reaching out, and that's with the case management. We've divided all of our active learners into caseloads, and each staff is assigned to make at least once a week contact with the students on their caseload. Part 2 is that we're acknowledging that right now life issues
are really at the forefront, and that's what we ask about first with our contacts, with each contact, before we even get into the reading and science and math and social studies, is what is happening in your life. Do you still have a job? Do you still have food? Are you safe? And dealing with those things. So that's the most important thing we can do right now, because for some of our students, we are their only reliable connection, especially now as things are changing so quickly. I'm going to, the biggest thing is that it's not like before, where we could have some systems in place. Like we've always had, doing bridge to benefits for a long time has been part of our intake, and things like that just don't work anymore. Everything is totally an individual finding out, because the situations are so unique compared to things that we've dealt with in the past, and each student is in a completely one-on-one kind of place. And the systems, just like our system is changing and adapting so quickly, so are all of the others. So one thing that is a system level change is I'm the convener for our Becker County Interagency and Literacy Council meeting that we had gone from every other month to quarterly meetings, and now we have actually pulled that. Instead of, I know some of those kinds of groups have canceled their meetings since we can't meet, but we have gone from quarterly to monthly. I just got off with them just before this meeting started. We're having Zoom meetings monthly, and just making sure that all of the service providers in the region know what services are available and how things have changed with all of our partners, so that we can help refer our clients back and forth and know what resources are available in response with unemployment and utilities assistance and food assistance and services for domestic violence, because that's a quickly growing issue with people locked in houses together and not knowing how to find help. So that's the one big system change is having that meeting over Zoom and having it more often so that we're connected. And then, like I said, everything is one-on-one. So I'm just going to give you some examples, some anecdotal things from my caseload, and tell you some of the things that we have solved one-on-one, and from really small things to really big things. We have one student who's in rural Minnesota on the reservation. She's got 2 children who both have IEPs, but they are not, they're both preschool. They're not in kindergarten yet. And she's also caring for her elderly father in her home, who has Alzheimer's, COPD, and other major health issues. And her phone is straight talk and usually doesn't have any minutes, and her community does not have internet access, and we couldn't get her on the Verizon deal or any of the other deals because her phone is straight talk. She doesn't have a contract, so we couldn't get her a hotspot. And the college in Detroit Lakes, she's only 20 miles from Detroit Lakes, the college was setting up a parking lot internet access. We couldn't get them to give access to our students in general, but we did get them to agree for this one student. But she's got 2 preschool children she would have to bring with her, and she'd be driving without a license or insurance, so that wasn't a non-starter. The school district was helping arrange internet for families, but only kindergarten through 12, so she didn't qualify with the college students, and her 2 preschool children with IEPs didn't qualify because they aren't in kindergarten yet, so the school district didn't help with internet. But we finally got the local provider. They'd actually been working on running broadband out to that area, so they gave her a grant for 3 months of free internet access. So it's, we had to go through all of the other options first, and we finally found that one that worked. And that's not something we can expect our students to figure out on their own, to try that many different options and figure out how to do the grant application once we found someone that said they could help. We have another student who's working on her adult diploma, and she doesn't know about HR for the navigating systems, but she's got 6 children at home, ages kindergarten to 9th grade, who are working on distance learning in multiple platforms. And so a really simple thing was just, okay, let's work on a write-up of all of the platforms you're using, the grade levels of your kids, and what they're learning in school and how you're helping communicate with their teachers. That's your navigating systems evidence. We have a student who's pregnant, and it was just a really small information thing to help her out. She was afraid to use hand sanitizer because she thought it would give her baby fetal alcohol syndrome. So we cleared that up and then told her, but no, don't use that hand sanitizer your friends made for her because they put aloe leaves and vodka in a blender and called it sanitizer. The food distribution, the WIC and food stamps are still there, but it's harder to use with the social distancing and our rural bus system. That, I mean, it was not a great solution, but for some people without driver's license, there was a bus that they could get from some of the reservation and rural communities. If they could get into town, into the towns close to where they live, they could get a bus to Walmart, but that's not available anymore. The school district is distributing food, but again, only through K-12. So we've helped connect with some agencies that are delivering food for the preschool kids. I bought a pregnancy test and delivered it to somebody who couldn't, without money to buy a drugstore test. The only way they can get a pregnancy test is to go to the clinic, but all non-essential appointments are not allowed. So she is pregnant. So like I said, the main thing is just to know that there is no blanket policy that if we do things this way, we're going to catch the needs, and these are the systems. It's helping students figure out a whole new system one day at a time, and all of the systems are going to change again tomorrow. So we just have to be ready to invest a lot of time and attention in each student and help them find their way through this maze because they can't do it on their own.
Yeah,
So I
Amy.
think
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
I was just going to say, I think that's all I've really got to say.
Okay. I was going to say thank you for sharing, and all of those personal touches and ways that the individualized learning strategies and just coping strategies that you're working with your students on. That is outstanding adaptation, and like you say, those systems kind of are shifting on a daily basis, and so it is tremendous skills in navigating systems that students are really having to deal with right now. Thank you very much for sharing. Very powerful. Let's have Scott Helland share what they're doing in Metro East. And Scott, let me make sure that you're unmuted. Hopefully you're unmuted now.
Yep, I'm good to roll now. I figured out the world.
Wonderful, I can hear you. Go ahead, Scott.
Yep, Patsy was my Amy Fish to get me connected with the world. Exactly what Amy is describing is what the teachers and I have been talking about with working with students. I think that what I've talked about with the teachers is that the state has given us kind of the ability to say, hey, let's stay connected with our students. Let's go ahead and educate to the best of our abilities. Let's take this time to go ahead and do all the education pieces and take the time that we never would have had to do the distance learning. But the key point number 2 that I'm here for is acknowledge students are managing their life issues. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So the connection piece and having them come back to us when we can regain human contact again is the piece that we've been emphasizing with the teachers, and just saying, you know, if we need to spend more time on doing those types of pieces that Amy's just talking about right there, and those are just excellent examples of just building that community, and we call it the harmony community, and just going ahead and doing those things that make the students realize that they're part of the community, making the teachers realize that the students and the staff together are part of the community, and then it brings everybody together in ABE for building it now while we're here in COVID-19. It brings us together when we're done with COVID-19. It brings us together for them telling friends, relatives, and everybody else about adult ed and the ways in which they're reaching out in other times then too. So I think that's the reasons that I've talked about, acknowledging students managing their life issues, you know, for both realistic issues of helping people at this time, but also for, hey, we have to go on after this. So why are we doing some of these things as well? And I think the state has given us the ability with the hours counting to go ahead and just say, you know what, hours are what they are. Go ahead and do your delivery of the distance learning the best that you can, and learn and do all those things, but also take care of people. That's what I got.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, Scott. Thank you for sharing. Okay, at this point, we are going to open it up for a group discussion. And how are you appropriately working with students that are managing their life issues? And I'm going to have Christine pop on here a little bit more. And one thread that appeared early on in this that would be great to talk about is motivating students if they are not able to kind of persist right now. How do you help them keep them motivated if, say, they can't take that last GED test right now? Christine, do you want to share a little bit what's been going on in the chat around motivation?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to see all, to hear from Scott and Amy, and then to hear to read in the chat box all that people are doing to motivate learners. And I think Pam Amfer called it a virtual shoulder tap. I love that. Like, okay, if I might not hear from you right now, but I'm not going away. Handwritten communication from Megan Himes. I guess one of the things that I'm thinking about as you're talking about, making these connections, these personal connections, which are huge, reminding students, that we will get to the other side of this, and you a little bit each day or a little bit every week can help you be ready. I think for our students, my students, I think that a little bit later in this webinar, Brad and Melissa are going to share some updates about testing. And I feel like we're just kind of in this reactive phase right now, not knowing if schools are going to stay closed, not being really sure about when testing might start up. But the more information we get about that, I think it's going to be good to get that to our learners. So a lot of things here, and about human connection is critical. So it sounds like everybody, I think we get that in ABE just so well. And it just sounds like everybody's doing absolutely everything possible to connect with students.
I completely agree. I think it was Scott Helland when we asked presenters to share a little bit of their personal, like how they're dealing with things. I think Scott said that relationships were the key factor right now, and I couldn't agree more with that human connection and building those individualized relationships like Amy was talking about. Christine, is there anything else in the chat, or is there anything else, anyone else with their hands up that we want to share at the moment?
Brad, I don't see any hands up.
No, just the clear theme. Patsy just commented this idea of connecting with our students, letting students know that someone cares about them. That's our wheelhouse. I mean, that's that's something that we do. And Megan just posted, proud to be a Minnesota ABE teacher. And I think a lot of us have felt that very strongly in the last 3 or 4 weeks because of the response from the state and the individual teachers. Scott's hand is up if you want to call there, Brad.
Yep. Let's hear from Scott.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk enough. Sorry. One of the things that I did think of after I finished that I meant to mention was, with the state giving the ability to with the hours, one of the things that I did find was being able to give the message of relief to teachers, because there's different teachers who have different amounts of anxiety about hours and different things like that. And it was literally yesterday that I had a teacher who was emailing me back and forth like 7 or 8 times about, well, can I count emails? Can I count this? Can I count that? And finally, we just had a conversation and just talked about, exactly what I just talked about, in the last thing. But just the ability to kind of relieve teachers and let them focus on both the learning and the relationships. And just the fact that that comes from the top down, and, that matters. And the top down being from the state is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Brad?
And yeah, we had a great comment here from Sherry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is something maybe we can put out there, that this issue of boundaries, I think it's interesting. Patsy was sharing that, this idea of students, the just appropriate behavior, learning some of those, guidelines for, being on video in a class. We've been talking about that, but Sherry said this idea with boundaries, that we're not doctors, we're not therapists, counselors, and I think we have to balance this all the time. So that emphasizing referrals to appropriate services is really important. Does anyone want to say more about that? Or if you, as a class on your Zoom classes, whatever, have you done anything to talk about some guidelines, or how, kind of those group norms? Zoom, Patsy's, it's a school, her kid's school put out Zoom etiquette guidelines, maybe a good group activity. I mean, I think it's those ACEs, that effective communication. So I was just curious if anyone has had that conversation or set some norms with the group for your classes, the etiquette. Kiana, we help learners collect the proper document. Oh, good. So it's back to that, making referrals, but helping students collect documentation, and making sure they get correct contact info. Yeah, so helping them with helping them navigate the system. Megan Lele, students text anytime. I'm the same, but you don't respond at night. So you draw that boundary for yourself too, so that you can get some rest and relaxation. Rules on the first day, Nancy Johnson. We talked a lot about what is appropriate and what is not, just like on the first day of school. Sarah, a list of rules for Zoom. Julie Fitek, we are no longer using Zoom due to security issues. There's been a lot of talk about that, and I don't know, you might want to check out the Atlas newsletter. Patsy, you might want to say more about this. Marisa Giesler has done a deep dive into this, and unfortunately, a lot of the security issues are due to misunderstanding of Zoom. Patsy, do you want to say any more about that, or where to read more about that?
Sure, I'll post it in the chat in just a minute. But yeah, Marisa Giesler and Gail Rutan at Atlas did a lot of research around the various security settings around Zoom, and how to prevent Zoom bombing, and how to lock your meeting and passwords and such. And Zoom has stepped up in recent days. I think on April 4th, they put into effect some new things that are now the default settings. They were always available, but now the default is using a passcode, for example, and some other things. So I'll post that article in just a moment. If you didn't have a chance to check it out, it is a good reference for using Zoom with students. We certainly want that experience to be a positive one, and a safe one for everybody. So give me just a sec.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it's actually a secure environment. I've used the example, my friend works for a city college system. She runs a wellness center, and the city college system has approved use of Zoom for teletherapy with the right security. Fortunately, there are other platforms if you can't use Zoom. I think we're hearing about Google Hangouts. We're hearing about, I think, Loom. So we're seeing a lot of people won't allow Zoom. That's unfortunate, but there are other platforms. Stephanie says we're using Schoology conferences to hold synchronous classes with our learners. I guess I didn't know anything about Schoology conferences. So if you're doing Schoology, you might want to look into that. Patsy posted the link for Zoom, how to really secure your sessions if your district does allow you to, and you want to make sure that you're securing. So check into some of these things, and we're all learning a lot. We are a technology nation who's learning how to use the technology. Google Meet. Thanks.
Yep.
Brad, we can probably move on.
Yep. And I was just going to say, as a closing comment here, I think Sarah Sundberg said it well. these personal touches and the connections that we're making now really show that we care and will help bring students back. Not only keep students motivated now, will help bring them back when we're able to reconvene in person as well, and maybe persist for the long run. So I thought that was a great comment. Yeah, one other way, though, I think that we can help with talking about student motivation is maybe it's time to adapt students' diploma options or pathways. We did hear Amy Fish talking a little bit about what she's doing with standard adult diploma, but each of our local adult basic education programs, they might offer GED programming, or GED prep and testing. They might offer credit completion or credit recovery programming for high school diplomas, or they might be offering the standard adult high school diploma. And so we have two staff from two different programs here to share a little bit about what they're doing or how they're thinking about students' diploma options or pathways in the short term, and maybe how does that affect students. So let's start Amy Stottheim. And Amy, are you there?
Yeah.
Wonderful, Amy. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you're doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. And I really didn't, I don't know, from my email, I really don't have anything new to share or anything that anybody hasn't already said as far as reaching students and keeping, trying to figure out things. We are really kind of trying to figure that out right now and hoping getting some ideas today about how to do some of these things online.
So, Amy, what are the diploma options that you offer in St. Paul traditionally?
There's this one, the standard adult. That's the only one we have. We don't have any credit recovery options or anything like that.
But you do also have a GED testing center and a GED prep program. Yep.
Right.
So currently your GED prep or testing center is closed, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And so have you been communicating with some of your GED students?
Just over the phone and, emails and, just saying that it's, testing will happen again, but we just don't know when. And if they can and they have the time to stay connected with their studies, they should do so that they're ready to go when we do open up again.
Exactly. And Tammy was sharing a little bit about what she's doing with some of her students there in the classroom. Excellent. Right. Have you had any students at this point change from maybe finishing out the test on GED and being able to close out quickly, or maybe a little bit more quickly with the standard adult diploma?
No, because we've had more. I mean, we use GED for a few of the options. Usually, a lot of times for social studies and science, they don't have many credits there, so that really kind of puts a block on some things for them to move that direction from GED to diploma.
Absolutely. Understandable. Okay. Well, we will, have you been doing any GED ready testing or doing any Proctor GED ready testing?
Not for the GED ready, since they can.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had any requests for age waivers or anything like that yet. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, Amy.
Sorry, that was a disappointment.
No, it's a challenging time right now, in all honesty. And I appreciate you sharing a little bit of just the honest struggle that it is right now, because I think that's really true to form, that it's a lot where you want to keep students persisting, but at this point, the testing option isn't quite there yet. I totally understand that.
Is there any news on that?
Well, we'll get to that in key point 4. Good question, Amy. But before we go to key point 4, let's open it up to Angela Chack from Great Rivers, the Access Program. Angela, are you there?
I am. Good morning, everyone. And so I'm one of the coordinators for our program, and we cover kind of the Woodbury, Cottage Grove, southern area. And then we also cover the Hastings school district as well. And I just saw Suzanne Kimber just asked if anyone used Zoom for GED ready testing. And we have had some new students that need age waivers. So kind of how we've split it. Our program, we currently have about 20 diploma students and 25 GED current students, and have been getting some new students over the past few weeks. So we have one full-time teacher that kind of covers both our diploma and GED students. They kind of work more on an independent basis. That's kind of how we were set up before COVID happened, where they come in and use our study lab during the times that she's available, and then we have them set up on Edmentum and Plato in their specific classes or the GED classes. And so kind of how we've split the responsibility during this time that we're doing distance learning is I'm taking any of the new student inquiries and working with them to get them set up, getting them registered. I've changed our registration form to a Google form so that I can just send that as an email link, and then we can keep track of that on the spreadsheet. And then if they are someone that needs an age waiver, basically what I'll do is I'll talk with them and set up a time that works for them. We'll get them set up on Zoom to make sure that they can first use that. And then I will monitor them and have them share their screen. And then usually I'll try to have a parent there at the same time so that they can just verify that who they are, and that they don't have anything else opened at the time, and that they're not using their cell phone, so that they can kind of be my eyes on that end as well. But so far that's worked well for the GED Ready tests. And usually I'll just do that for the RLA and then the math tests that are needed. And then if they pass those, then I'll give them a voucher form so that they can take the science and the social studies not monitored, and just make sure that they can pass those before we get them scheduled for their actual tests. And then if they don't pass them, then we get them set up in our Edmentum software for that. So far that's worked well for that part of things. And then with our diploma program as well. So we don't have a lot of new stuff that we've talked a lot about some of the things that we are already doing too, but I've tried to adapt our student packet for like the new students so that it's emailable to them with all the information during that first initial appointment, kind of going through what their goals are, what they're trying to do. And I'll do that typically before we even assign them to our GED or diploma program, and try to figure out the best option for them. If a lot of people inquire about the GED, and then it turns out that they're close to the diploma program. And so we get them enrolled in the diploma program if they only have a few credits left. And currently that would be the faster option until we know when they can do the GED program.
Okay. You're looking to schedule a GED exam, or?
Let's see. For our jail GED people, we're currently not going into the jail. We're just, all of our teachers are creating packets for them. And then the program sergeant is basically emailing, once they've filled out those packets, the jail is sending those back to us via email so that the teachers can grade them with that. One of the things that we've also used, I think Sherry talked a little bit about it, to help me and our teacher really know what each other has talked about with the students, kind of keep that conversation running with them, is we've created we didn't do a Google form like Sherry did, but we just have a simple spreadsheet, and we have each of the students on there. And then just each day we start a new cell with what we've talked with them and the dates, so that we can each look at that and share that with each other, so that we can know what was the last step that happened with that student.
Create an account at ged.com.
Thank you, Angela. We're hearing, are you at work right now?
That's not me, so I'm not sure who is.
Okay, I'm gonna just mute all, and then we'll kind of. And I muted all right now, but I'll let Angela back open. There you go, Angela. Now you should be able to share.
Perfect. A couple things that we've been using that have worked really well for our team that we actually started a little bit before the COVID happened is I would encourage teams to use the Microsoft Teams app if they haven't. It's been a great app that basically is kind of a running conversation. You can create several different groups in it. So in there, we have basically our whole team of about 13 staff in there that we can just talk about how we're doing, that kind of thing. And then I created a separate like GED tab. So a GED tab resources, as we've been getting all this great information from everyone to kind of keep it all in a place, similar to the Schoology group, but just for our team. And then we have an ESL tab going on with just those teachers. So it's kind of a running conversation amongst those teachers. We use that for my manager, myself, and other coordinators in there as well. So if you haven't, and they have a similar video chat app in there too, so you can just call one of your teammates right away if needed, similar to Zoom. And that's been a great thing that's kept our team connected during this time while we're all working from home. We do credit recovery. So typically we offer that for grade 9 through 12 with the school district between our 4 different high schools. We've made the decision for our trimester 3 right now to just focus and open that up for current seniors, since we'll be able to still work with all the other students next year, and kind of focus then on the juniors and getting them through when they're seniors next year. So that's reduced the number of students that each of our team leads and the teachers at each of the high schools will have to work with, and they can focus on hopefully getting them through their last credits that they're working on with that. And then if they don't finish for some reason with that, then they would enter into our main adult program to finish up. We just offer the K-12 diploma, so we've tried to keep that as similar as we can. What our teacher has been doing is just like most of you has been trying to keep that conversation going with the students. She's been focusing more on the diploma students, and then I've been trying to help her communicate with a lot of the GED students and then connecting them as needed with her. But for the diploma students, she'll try to have a weekly meeting with them via phone to touch base, see how they're doing. And then if they need to, so a lot of them are doing their tutorials on Edmentum at home independently. And then once they have a group of their mastery tests that are needed, she will work on those with them via Zoom has usually been what we've been using, or FaceTime, that kind of thing in there. Something that we've been using with our ESL students that has worked well with Zoom is the breakout room option. So if you have a group or a classroom of students, it's a feature that you have to actually log in on the website version of Zoom and then go to settings, and then you can enable it. But then you can put 2 or 3 students in a room and work with them, and then hop over to another room. It's a great idea for the English students to be able to practice conversation groups without having to spend so much time with everybody in the same room. I think that's most of our. We do a lot of texting. I have set up a Google number for myself, so I don't necessarily have to do. I don't share my personal number. I know some people were worried about that. It gives you the option to, once you have it set up, then it goes into your email and also sends you a text to your phone. But you can call students and then also text them from that specific number and just give them that number as well, which has been very nice.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah,
Lots of really concrete suggestions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angela. It's great to hear all the ways that you're tackling and utilizing technology to best adapt to this situation. Outstanding. Christine, do you want to share just a little bit about some of the key gist that you've been hearing in the group discussion, and then we're going to move on to some state updates.
Yeah, I'm going to do this quickly because I know everybody is really anxious to hear some of the testing updates. Kirsten Fulseth put a really good comment here in the box about how colleges are beginning to reach out to see how a student's GED score would crosswalk or correlate to an Accuplacer score. And so she said it's a great opportunity to use information that's already on GED.com with the local colleges so that they have some understanding of what the GED means, and that just because a student has a GED does not automatically mean a student should go into Dev Ed classes. She did put a link to the exact document where you can share this. It's a guide for admissions officers, and it gives a lot of really good information to help admissions officers kind of understand exactly, or understand better where students might be, and maybe not make some blanket decisions without having the best information. So you're going to want to check that out. One more thing, just quickly, if anyone could chat out in the chat box, our breakout room's available on the free version of Zoom that's available right now. If you could chat that out in the chat box. We had that question come in, and
Yep, and it looks like AMF said that she thinks it is.
Yep, and Angela just said, yes, they are. Thank you for answering that question. I hate to move us along because there's so much great stuff to share, but I know we're all really interested to hear what Brad and Melissa have to say about some updates. So,
without further ado, let's move on to key point 4. Understand state policy and logistics issues. They're adapting quickly. So I'm going to Melissa Holtstrand will kind of maybe let me know if she has additional things that she wants to share when we get to the GED testing slide. But let me just share a little bit. And Angela already kicked off with this. So we have been sharing on the Schoology group and in other places that for those of you that have students that need a GED age waiver, you can do some GED Ready Proctoring virtually. There are 2 options that we're really talking about here. One, that you can train an on-site adult, like a parent, to be the proctor. And so that is one way that you could do it. You could prep them, train them beforehand, and then check in with that proctor after testing to ensure that the tester did not cheat and that all the testing protocol were adhered to and that the tester actually took the test. The second option is that you could do remote proctoring through a technology service like Zoom or through another, and that could be on the same device or on a different device, like a smartphone, tablet, etc. And you could actually then virtually watch the tester take the test to make sure that that tester did actually take that ready test and that the test was done appropriately. So those are 2 common options that we're seeing local programs do in terms of their virtual proctoring of the GED Ready for this purpose. Some things that you want to know to be a GED proctor, or a ready proctor, I should say, a GED ready proctor for age waiver purposes. You need to be able to watch the tester complete the test, the entire test. You need to know what is and is not allowed during testing. You need to verify that the tester did not use another device or resource that's not allowed during testing. You need to check that the student is not recording the test questions or the responses. And you need to assure that the tester did not cheat. Those are things that we're really looking for. And these are things that you'd want to embed in your training if you're training a parent, for example, to do the GED Ready Proctoring. And in terms of GED testing, here are some of the big updates. So the GED testing service is working on remote testing. We know right now that GED testing in person in the state of Minnesota is not happening except for corrections purposes. That was not a GED testing service decision, but that was it to remain, to adhere to the governor's stay-at-home order at this time. So GED testing in person is not happening. It is happening in jails or in prisons, I would say, in some prisons, in some cases where they're able to do that. Remote testing is not currently available though, but they are looking at this and they're saying that it could be available as early as mid to late May. And that would mean where the tester could take the test on a device, laptop or a computer at home. As they embed this or as they launch this, they have been talking with state administrators about having a prioritized list of testers. For example, prioritizing those that only have 1 test left, that have job offers or that are enlisting in the military or have some other documented need for taking that test. And if once remote testing it launches, the proctors will not be from our current GED testing centers, won't be current GED testing center proctors or administrators. They're actually going to be proctors from OnView, which is going to be the remote proctoring service. And there will be an opportunity for where OnView will be looking for people to apply for jobs to be online proctors for GED testing. And as that comes out, we'll share that if you have any GED ready or GED test administrators that would like to be proctors for OnView. One other option that's being explored for corrections is the possibility of doing some paper testing. It's important to note that this will not be like the 2002 series, that this will be different. That will be an individualized booklet printed specifically for that student, printed that this would have to be scheduled at least 10 days in advance. It would be couriered, especially printed in Owatonna, couriered over to the testing location and administered and then immediately returned to be scored individually. And so we're looking at that option in a couple of correctional situations right now. If you think you have any issues about or questions about remote testing or paper testing, you can always contact me to talk through some of those specific issues. Melissa, I'm going to open it up to you at the moment. Do you have anything that you would like to add about GED testing and some of the options that that you're looking at? I have unmuted you.
Good morning, everyone. Brad, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. Thank you for all the information that you provided so far. It's very helpful. I know to all of you on the phone, but then also to myself as well, just to get a sense of what's going on out there and the needs of the testers. So I very much appreciate that. When it comes to remote testing, I guess another point that I would like to add is that a survey was sent to GED students earlier this week, asking what equipment they have so that we can get a gauge at the online proctoring possibilities. And another point that I would like to add is that we will pilot in a few states first to make sure everything is going well, and then we will offer this to more states. When it comes to the paper testing that would be available for corrections, like Brad said, it is different than the 2002 paper series tests in the sense that, you know, back in the day you had to place an order, you had to guess how many test batteries you wanted in a particular year. That is not the case with this type of testing. These tests are ordered on demand, and like Brad said, the earliest you can order these tests is about 10 days before you need them. And if you do test students, if you were to test students soon after receiving these tests, meaning 1 to 4 days after receiving the tests at your facility, and you were to send them to our scanning facility soon after, then scores would be in GED Manager about 16 days after you placed the order. I think another piece of information I should probably add is that this type of testing requires that GED get a list of potential proctors, and that those proctors watch a recorded training session. After the would-be proctors would have to take a quiz, and then only after they take that quiz would we then give them a certain type of GED Manager access, which is key because this is the system they would go into to place the order for the paper test. And I think that's all I have right now, Brad.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those updates. And it's really exciting to kind of see this innovation. And, you know, this is not just to help in the interim future, but GED Testing Service has been thinking, what will this mean for the future of GED testing as well? So I really thank you for all the communication. And I know here in Minnesota, we're hoping that we can be on that prioritized list of pilots to try that out. So thank you so much, Melissa, and all the GED Testing Service staff for sharing this information.
You're welcome.
Okay, so in addition to GED testing, I also want to give an update about remote NRS testing. And so with NRS testing, we have 3 tests that are currently approved here in Minnesota: Best Plus, TABE 1112, and CASAs. With Best Plus, they do have remote testing options available at the moment. So that is excellent. If you have questions about that, we encourage you to reach out to Linda Keller, one of our state assessment trainers, to learn more about that. We also though know that not many of you are doing Best Plus testing at the moment. With TABE 1112, it's been a little bit more diverse. They don't think that they'll be able to have the TABE 1112 available for remote NRS testing for at least 1 to 2 more months. So it's going to be a ways down the road before TABE will have that available. They need to contract with a remote proctoring service in order to have that available. But they will be making the locator available very soon for anyone that has a DRC Insight account, and that would be for AB programs that were doing computer-based testing or that were doing paper testing on the official score forms or answer sheets, and then scanning their answers and getting the responses through the DRC Insight system. If you don't currently have a DRC Insight account, you can apply for one, and that information will be coming out soon. But the locator won't give you an official pretest score and cannot be used as a post-test, but at least they say this will at least be able to get people started so you know how to tailor their instruction initially. It's not the official pre or post test, but it will be a little something that'll kind of help them out. And there will be a guide coming out about what that locator and how that could be offered to students. And the good news is that they're hoping or that they are making that locator available for free to programs to send out to their students. But they do need to be proctored, and look for that guide as that gets announced and is available.
Brad?
Yeah.
Scott Helland has his hand up. I want to make sure that we hear his question or his comment.
Okay, I would like to do that, but I'd like to finish out the content on this slide maybe first, if that's okay. And just note that CASAS is also exploring the remote NRS testing, but there is nothing currently available, and still news TBD on that one, or to be determined. So let's turn it over to Scott for his question. Scott?
Okay, so my question was for Melissa. I was just trying to understand if they were looking at GED proctored at home for the future beyond COVID, or just in the interim.
Melissa, I unmute. Do you want to answer?
Yeah, for sure. So Scott, are you talking about what we would offer in terms of paper testing for corrections that could be available for current computer-based proctors at the correctional facilities? But when it comes to the Pearson OnView remote testing that we're looking at, I think Brad had alluded to this, but this would be proctors that Pearson OnView hire, and there would be a process for people to apply to be an online proctor. Does that answer your question?
What I was asking was that's something that you're looking at instituting ongoing for here to eternity type of thing, not just for a COVID stopgap.
For remote testing?
Yeah.
You know, we're not sure yet. So like we said earlier, I mean, this is something that we're looking at introducing, making it available mid to late May. And beyond that, we don't know anything else.
It just certainly is something that, really impacts the partnership that we have, as testing centers.
For sure.
So that's the reason I was asking, just in terms of the financial piece, just trying to get a hold on that and have some knowledge around that piece, because that'll certainly impact how I staff my centers and such. So that's what I was trying to get an idea at. So if we can be as open about that process as we go forward as possible, that'd be appreciated.
For sure, I understand where you're coming from. But as far as us looking into this, is just given what's going on with COVID-19, we just want to make some options available. And as far as I know, we're not looking at anything for beyond that. So that's what I know.
Nope, that's what I was asking.
Good point. Good question and good point there, Scott. Melissa, there was a question from Kai about on-view proctors, about the requirements for being hired as an on-view proctor. Do we know what those requirements will be or what they are? And she was pointing out that maybe there would be some past students of hers or from their program that may be interested.
Oh, yeah. So actually, I'm not sure about the details of that yet. I know there are ongoing meetings, each day where they're trying to work out the details so that they can make this available as early as mid-May. So it's just something that the information is not readily available, but as soon as I do have that, Brad, I'll pass that on to you, so that you could make it available to the group.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Melissa.
No problem.
Okay. Well, we've moved into the group discussion aspects of today of this topic or this point. So thinking about how prepared could your program and/or testing center be to reopen with social distancing or to adapt to remote testing possibilities? There's a lot to be considered now, and it's interesting how the different tests have different timelines, or the different vendors are working at different paces with these options. So anyone with questions or ideas or thoughts about how your program or center could be prepared?
So again, if you want to use the raise hand function, I'd be happy to call on folks and unmute you, or use the chat box. Either way, I'll just keep an eye on the list here.
Looks like Patty has her hand up.
Wonderful. Patsy, are you able to unmute Patty?
I've unmuted her. Patty, you need to unmute on your end.
Okay, thank you. Patty Fleege, if you could unmute on your end. It looks like you're still self-muted. We've unmuted you, but you're self-muted yet. Okay. Apparently we're having Patty's having some technical issues. But we did get in the chat that Laura Malott is talking about that they're trying to figure things out, and that the Leech Lake Tribal College will remain closed until an unknown date at this point. So remote access or remote testing would be a great help, or would be great for their program. She was noting that. And Joan is saying that in Lakeville, it's tough to answer how prepared their program or testing center could be, because many of them are in school district buildings and they have to wait to hear what the school district is doing or allowing in this case. So that is yet a tough decision. And we have an unrelated question from Rebecca. How much funding is left to pay for Minnesota GED tests when testing reopens? If you're asking about the subsidy, there is still plenty, or there's still at least a couple tens of thousands of dollars in that fund at this point. And I'm actually going to be sharing that updated figure tomorrow, but I don't have that available today. But I will say that there is funding available in that subsidy once test centers are up and running again. And at this point, it's quite possible that that money will until the end of the fiscal year, until June 30th. And then starting July 1, that the new subsidy amount would kick in. So maybe we'll have a seamless transition in terms of the use of the subsidy this year. Good question. So, and I will just note that Angela said that their testing center is able to do testing one student at a time. So that's what they might be doing when they reopen. And so we have a lot of additional chats coming in, but I'm going to turn it over to Christine to share some of our last closing slides with us today. First off, I will just close by saying thank you to all of our presenters and participants. Yes, we're in this together, and that was very apparent in the chat and all of our presenters. Thank you to each of our presenters. Thank you to Paula, to Sherry, to Tammy, to Amy Fish, to Scott Helen, to Amy Stotzheim, and to Angela Shack, and to Melissa Holtstrand. Thank you all for sharing everything that is happening and all the everything that you have contribute today. Thank you for everything. Christine, do you want to share a little bit about the COVID-19 and Distance Education Resource Hub?
Yeah, and I'll go through these very quickly. I'm wondering, just as a side note, Brad, if we might want to look into the future and plan another GED diploma, maybe a coffee break, just to gather people together and continue to share. If you haven't signed up for the COVID group, sign up. It's like the biggest group we've ever had on Schoology. We're somewhere over 300 people, lots of great things, people getting their questions answered, whether from state folks or from colleagues around the state. Make sure you can also go to the Atlas website and find out that, or get the access code. You want to change the slide? Or should I go beep like the old film strips? Read your weekly ABE newsletter. There are great articles coming out. There's a series right now from Andrea Eckelberger about working with ELLs in different programs, new information about the license, of course, for some non-COVID content. The DL support team has been writing articles. Lindsay and I are putting an article out next week about packets, and if we are using packets, which many people are realistically, how can you create the best packets? We've had a lot of input from teachers around the state. And there's also a new resource group on the Atlas website. The microscope is the COVID-19. Next slide. Tons of things coming up. If you haven't been on a virtual coffee break yet, check it out. Some people have been on all of them. They have been extremely successful. Lots of ideas, lots of kind of solidarity. You can see we have a lot of different content planned. And also relicensing. Atlas is working really hard on creating relicensing workshops. There's going to be an ESL one. There's going to be a reading one from Penny Brown. We're doing CCRS support webinar that's reflecting what we're doing right now and integrating all the standards. We've got system updates, we've got math, we've got ACEs, all kinds of things. These are all in the event calendar on the Atlas website. And finally, we have been super excited about the CCRS Instructional Leadership Summit. It is going to be virtual, but we have planned this for anyone who is currently in an instructional leadership role in the program, in your program, or you may be in the future doing some training, how to access resources to help train staff, how to facilitate a workshop or a meeting, how to deal with a variety of questions if teachers come to you and say, is my instruction, is this lesson aligned, or what can I do to add to this or extend this lesson, and then just networking with other CCS leaders. That is also on the event website in the calendar, or the Atlas website in the event calendar. Please register. We would love to have you.
Thank you
so much. That was a lot of information. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to let Brad close, but thank you so much, everyone. I have GED diploma students as well, and I appreciate all of your ideas and have written a lot of things down that I hope to try with my own students.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Thank you for all of your wonderful insights, your wonderful questions. Thanks to our presenters again. Thanks to Atlas staff for helping to run the logistics for today's session. We will be posting webinar notes in the COVID-19 Schoology group. We'll also be emailing those to those that registered, and CEUs will be emailed. Thank you all so much. We'll continue this conversation on the Schoology group and maybe in a future coffee break. But thank you all. Have a great day. And we look forward to staying in touch and seeing your ongoing innovations.